Okay, we are live.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. حسبنا الله لا إله إلا أنت عليك توكلنا وأنت رب العرش العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. We have been studying the chapter Buruj, translated as the name of the chapter, translated as Surah, chapter Constellation. And it is the 27th revealed chapter of the Quran when we read the Quran in a chronological order, chronological revelation. So the chapter is said to have been revealed around the 4th year of the mission of the Prophet. You know that this is the time where was the problem about to emerge in the community. So we talked about them, and now we also talked about how the Quran starts with the external evidence, external signs for human beings to reflect on, think about them, draw their attention to the reality of the creation, therefore to the reality of their own existence. So try to see how they can explain their existence of this world and what can make out of it for their own interpretation of their own life and their own future. So the Quran starts with drawing the attention of the people to look at the sky and the layers of the creation in sky, many constellations within each other, encircled way of creation. And then call them to remember that, look, this is an excellent, wonderful creation, cannot happen by itself. It cannot come into existence by itself, and it cannot really sustain its own existence by itself. So there must be something beyond the existence of, behind the existence of this creation, this universe. So there is a purposeful act, and then this purposeful act will inevitably, definitely have its own consequences. The promised day, there will be some time. It is not a joke, it is not a small matter, simple matter that we can just ignore it. Human consciousness knows that it is such an important matter. That's why people all struggle to interpret, understand their existence one way or another, whether they accept that there must be an absolute creator who gave existence to this universe, or they deny it. Both of them are struggling to justify their own conclusions. Believers want to prove the evidence of the necessary existence of the Creator, and those people don't want to submit anything about their own power, their own capacity, about over their life. They also try to prove that there is no such thing in order to convince themselves. Who is successful? You have to listen to what they say and see the signs in the universe, compare it with your own consciousness, which one makes sense to you, which one really reconciles with your human side, not body side, but before everything, we have to be very careful to define ourselves, not only consisting of body, but also human side, human beings. Body side is so excellent in its creation, but human side is inexplicable in terms of this universe at all. That is something, impossible to explain. It's very, very perplexing for human beings that we cannot really solve this problem easily if we don't attribute our existence to an absolute being. So we came to this point, and it says, look, there is a conflict, there is a battle going on between the believers in the absolute being, in a transcendental being, and those people who confine themselves within the limits of their material existence, material body. Even they have some sense of human side, feelings, emotions, etc., but they reduce it to material causes, body functions, brain activities, or whatever is going on in brain. So it is as if emerging out of brain activities, a matter coming out, a matter is producing something definitely immaterial. Whether it makes sense or not, everybody is free to endorse it or reject it. We don't force anybody, but I personally, and I'm sure you too, personally say we cannot attribute something which is immaterial, cannot be explained in terms of matter at all. Matter has no quality to give, produce to anything, to give existence to anything. So we say, no, it is an act of a being which is transcendental in itself and cannot be describable within the conditions of this universe. So the conflict is going on, and also in human side, within human beings, every human being, this conflict is going on. Now, these verses that we are going to study today is presented to us in the form of a physical example, as if maybe in reality it did too, but we don't know. We are not after it is real existence, physical existence of this tribe mentioned here, the makers of Teach, Ashabul Ukhdud. Who are they? There may be some people, but as far as we are concerned, we say, oh, there are some such people, and also there is some sense of inclination within ourselves. And we are expected to use this sense of inclination, saying that, is it really possible? So in this respect, doubt is the only way to confirm the truth. You have to, is it really possible? If someone doesn't ask it, is it really possible that this universe has no owner, and I exist by myself, and the universe exists by itself, and I am the product of universe accidentally evolving, developing, whatever is progressing by itself within its own, I don't know, order, but they say order doesn't seem to be an order because order needs a conscious actor behind it. So an order which developed out of coincidences. If it makes sense to somebody, welcome. They can follow it, but it doesn't for me. I'm sure it doesn't for you too, but I'm speaking by myself and guessing that you also don't agree with this funny idea, just an excuse, apparent excuse. So these people are described here with the word qutila. It is translated here as you see on the screen, doomed. Doomed means, qutila means let they be killed. It means it is better for them to be dead rather than to be alive. Why? Because the way they follow does not fit human character. It doesn't, if it doesn't fit human character, it means it contradicts the human side of us. If my humanity is dead, what does it mean? If my humanity is dead, I am dead as a human being. Maybe I may be alive as a body, living body. It means as an animate being, living being. So as a human being, they, in fact, may be regarded, deemed to be dead, qutila. Which some people say, but I don't want to mention the negative side of the matter. You know, it is a curse from God. I don't think so, because why God should curse it, but uses a language that human beings will say, yeah, really, they are dead. Although they think they are alive. Yes, they are alive as an animate being, not as a human being, because their human side is not functioning in the way that they are expected to be functioning. Okay, I feel a little bit reluctant to understand it as a curse from, but why God, who creates them and then will curse them? But they, if I say that they curse their humanity by themselves, that's what God is letting us know, that what they are doing is in fact cursing their human side. I would say, oh yeah, really they do, according to my understanding, of course. But those people, whoever they are, we are not talking about certain personalities or certain group of people or certain group of followers of a certain tradition, philosophical view, or ideologies, doctrines, whatever they are doing. We are not talking about the people. We are talking about the attitude that a human being can take. So I think the verse 4 is understood that doomed be the makers of the ditch. It means they really destroyed themselves. They are doomed. So what they do النار ذات الوقود, those people, who they are, of the fire fed by fuel. That is something interesting going on here. The fire fed by fuel. What does the fire may represent? What does the fuel may represent? Because They are described here in an what do you say, metaphorical way, so that they have their ditch, something digged into the earth somehow, and they put fire there, and then continues to coming fuel from somewhere, so the fire is burning and burning and burning. Maybe if the fuel comes more, the fire will enhance its heat and flame. Oh, you can describe it. What is going on? Of course, there are many other interpretations, but my favorite understanding of this verse is the ditch, as far as the human being is concerned, can only be the ditch within its own self. It is a word that I would prefer here, their heart. Why? Because heart represents the center of human feelings. And also this center is within human beings, not external, it is internal. So they have their fire there, and their brain is producing, that's my understanding of the verse, their brain is producing new ideas, new excuses, new philosophies, new theories, so that their burning heart inside will continue to burn, so that they will never submit themselves to a creator. I mean, we can use this language, but we have to be careful what it means. We have to be very careful that this being is something which has the power to claim that he is the owner of their existence, their life, and he directs their life. So they have to obey him. They have to follow him, acknowledge him, and follow his will. It means they have to try to see the purpose of their creator, their owner, but they don't want to submit. It is possible for every human being to choose through their free will not to follow this way. It means the way, accepting that they have to follow the will of their creator. They have to acknowledge him as the owner of their being, source of the existence of their being, and they have to submit themselves to his will, not exercise their will, swinging from right to left, from right to wrong, but get the guidance from him and try to see if it makes sense, and then they will understand that it is just appropriate, perfectly fitting into their nature, human nature, and use their free will in the direction of this understanding. Some people may not accept this. When they don't accept, they are left alone. What does it mean? They don't have any owner. Universe becomes their own ditch. It means they are sunk within the universe. They are the prisoners of the universe because they don't have any owner who is transcendent and owner of the universe. So they are really confined within the limits of the universe. they have to explain everything in terms of natural, material things, attributing their feelings, expectations to the matter itself. So the matter becomes their ditch. On the contrary, it is too early to compare, but we will study in the following verses that the believers are those who understand that there is a there must be a transcendental being who is the owner of the universe, who created the universe, and they are confined. They are also confined within this creator, which means this creator by definition must be an absolute being. So they describe themselves as belonging to the absolute. So if you like, they are encompassed by the absolute, which means absolute by definition has no limit. So they feel so comfortable that their expectations and the feelings, expectations, for example, expecting the most important thing is the eternal happiness, permanent happiness in existence, in any terms, in bodily term, in spiritual term, human side also. This expectation is covered by the absolute, which means infinite. So the infinite has no limit. I see no limit to my existence at all because my owner has no limit. It is so simple. It's very simple to understand that those people who are described here as the makers of the ditch, whoever they are, the unbelievers, they don't believe in the creator. Make it simple, they don't believe in God. Okay. Now, those people who believe in God, what is the difference? Both of them are created beings. They are bound to be created beings. They are not creators. A believer cannot become a creator if they believe in God. No. And a non-believer cannot become an uncreated being. I don't know the word, but it exists in English, uncreated being, because they don't believe in God. They don't say, no, we are the products of the progress of the universe's order, natural processes. They are also, they can also not really deny that they are the product of something. In this term, the believers and non-believers are the same, but one of them, the products of nature, the limited universe, the other one is product of the acts of an absolute being. Now, as far as the human senses are concerned, one side of the unbeliever's side is limited with nature, matter. So they have to confine their life to the limits of their body. That's why they are in the ditch of their body. On the other side, the believers also are created beings. They are not the creators. They are not absolute beings. As they believe in God, they don't become an absolute being, but they believe in the absolute being as their creator, to be their creator, the absolute being. The difference is the unbeliever says, I am confined to my body. Believers say, I am confined by an absolute being. Now, the feeling side is, one of them is in the ditch of this world. The other one is not in the ditch. they are within the protection, guarantorship, mastership of an absolute being. That is how they experience their existence and also entertain the feelings, their own feelings. One of them says, I am going to come to an end when I die. The other one says, I am going to be taken into a realm where my creator will entertain my existence according to the capacity of my human feelings that he gave them to me. He gave me. So my human feelings do not recognize limit, because the creator of these human beings have no limit. He is introducing himself through the, enduing the human feelings, which does not want to limit themselves within any limited existence. So one of them says, I'm going to disappear when I die. The other one says, I am going to go into a permanent world existence by the grace of my creator, the creator of my human feelings, creator of my body as well. So that is the difference. Now, the ditch, I feel that I a bit understood what ditch is. I don't know whether it made sense to you. By the way, is there any hands, questions, comments? And I see no notes. So, okay, I will continue. There is no hand up there. But if you have any concerns and any sign of, if you don't agree, if you say, come on, this interpretation of the verse doesn't make sense, maybe most of the classical scholars don't speak in this way. Okay, I know that, alhamdulillah. But that is my conclusion. Of course, I learned from certain scholars, although they are not very famous and well-known, because they don't really make the thing simple. So the ones I follow mostly want to be really as appropriate as the human side expects to be. Okay. All right. Fire, you understand the fire now. Their own interpretation of their reality. They don't really see the reality as it is, but they see that their reality is nothing but matter. But the matter produces some sort of imaginations, feelings, which is inherited through the traditions of the generations after generations and developed and somehow settled down in human genealogy, whatever they call it. I don't know the technical words. To be, I mean, I find it ridiculous, but okay, people are free to say anything. Good for them, not for me. Okay. Oh, this is something private. I have read a kind of private, not private though, but I read it, but the person who wrote this may write to me in an email. It is nothing to be discussed in this matter, because it is our principle in our discussions not to give any name, person, not to mention any source, book, or community, or society, or organization. We are totally, if you like, with no name, nothing, you know. I mean, universal, if you call it. Okay, so I understood the fire, but how about the fuel? Come on, after this introduction of the new verses that we are studying, verses that we are studying, so what do you think the fuel can represent? Come on, one of us, be brave. Tell it.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam. Go ahead.
I actually had a comment earlier, and so I think the question you're asking right now is related to also what I wanted to emphasize earlier. That so the ditch is the ditch like the hellfire in terms of description. So something like an abyss, total meaninglessness, where I have no point of support, and so I just try to cover it up with like not a temporary satisfaction, just saying, oh, it's just a random act or things like that. I mean, just wanted to also look into that are ditch and hellfire like interchangeably used as far as their understanding and the description is concerned.
I hope you didn't mute yourself. What do you, we discussed that. That's correct. With, meaningless existence, no point of support, as you wrote it, is the ditch like hellfire in terms of description. I mean, just to use it other way around. Hellfire is the ditch and the fire. Hellfire must be like the ditch and the fire in the ditch. If you like, if I could explain myself in a way that you can make sense. So rather than ditch, like ditch is like hellfire, I would say, because we don't know hellfire, but it is described in the Quran in a way that as if the Quran is describing what we see here, the fire in the ditch. It means the fire in the heart of the man, the fire in the heart, in the mind of the person who defines his existence in terms of their body, matter, therefore, in large nature, the universe itself. That is the ditch. And human feelings must be burning in it, although they may not to face it. They may not like to face it. Why? Because they say, that is life, I have to accept. And when I die, I will disappear. That's a very common understanding of the people who really don't believe in God. That is why it is so interesting. We have to understand that. So, I mean, the similarity between them, not the similarity, not the similar. What does hellfire represent within this universe? Because I don't know how the hellfire is, but the Quran mentions about hellfire, liking the hellfire to the fire burning human beings. So we understand that really the heart of human beings, feelings of human beings are burning with the definition of their existence in a way that that is limited within the conditions of body, matter. Okay, fuel. There are suggestions here. I can see Qasim says fuel means conclusions that are not based from reality. Deduced is a better word than based. Okay, that's correction. So I will read it again. Conclusions are not deduced from reality. Yeah, I will say, okay, conclusions, excellent comments, but all sorts of conclusions, not one conclusion, all kinds of conclusions. But fuel is something running. Let's see what Taya said. Is the fuel, okay, the continual, exactly, continual denial of the existence of the creator. Yeah, yes, I would say, thank you very much. These are excellent comments. I really like them. The continual denial of the existence of the creator, it means I would say continually reproducing the excuses of justification of their denial. Well, if you see the historical sequences of the philosophical tradition, as opposed to sequences of the revelation to the prophets. If you notice the historical narrations, all the narrations, all the narrations about the revelation received by the prophets are confirming, reaffirming. If there is a crooked, misled, correcting, but keeping the same line of thinking, if you like, explanation of the existence, purpose of life, keeping the same line of thinking, confirming each other with slight corrections because the original texts have been lost. So the interpretations, human interpretations, are muddled up with it. So the following revelation cleans the human interference and corrects and keeps the main line of thinking. That is one line of thinking. But in philosophy tradition, from the very beginning, even the philosophers in the same century, contemporary philosophers, continuously rejecting each other's ideas, continuously blaming each other as the one who thinks in the wrong way, the correction. It means continuously producing a new idea, a new idea, a new idea. But what is the consistent in the line of the philosophy? Of course, not the philosophers follow the line of the revelation, prophetic tradition. Of course, those philosophers we are talking as opposed to revelation, those philosophers we are talking who are not following the prophetic tradition, who are not believing in God and believing in the reproductions of their own minds and trying to make an explanation of their existence in terms of matter only. That is the consistency in them, that the source of existence is matter by itself, but how are you going to make sense of it is a matter of dispute, continuous dispute. So I would say, Taya, it is perfect, continual denial, but in varying forms. Fuel is continuously running, correct, but producing a new excuses every generation. And within the every generation, there are different excuses competing with each other, contradicting each other in the way that they are explained. Although trying to explain their existence is constant, which is existence comes from the matter, nature. So I think we understood. Afshan says, seems like they dug their own ditch that they burn in. Yes, agree with the field definitions above. Yes, I do agree as well, with a slight, how do you say, flavor, you know, spice I put on it. Okay, thank you. It is great like this. Come on, continue. Right, communicating by speaking as well. Okay. So we understood the fuel is continuous reproduction of a new model of thinking, interpretation that the universe, matter is the source of existence of everything, including human feelings. They don't say human spirit. They don't say human side, whatever it is, feelings, emotions, etc. Though maybe subconscious imaginations or whatever they call it. I don't know. As long as they don't say that we are created, okay, from the very beginning, I disagree with them. If we are not created, then it doesn't make sense to me. However you explain it doesn't make sense to me because not I am defining myself as something which is not created by an absolute being doesn't make sense to me. Whatever the explanation you come up afterwards. Why? Because whatever the explanation you come up afterwards, that we are the product of this universe only, does not match me. Why do I care that? Although in my life I cared a lot and studied. So somehow, I mean, I'm not a philosopher or something, but somehow I read something like everyone else. So what they are on this Narizat al-Waqud is the verse 5, verse 6. Is who, sorry. Yeah, no, it's correct. إِذْهُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. When they sat around it, they are united around all sorts of philosophies, doctrines, ideologies, or any kind of philosophical arguments. They are around it and they say, how can we justify our attitude? One says something theory, the other one says something theory, the other one says something theory. But all the theories, as far as I know, of course there may be something, turns around the matter is the source of its own existence. And we are not responsible before anything superior to us, above us. That's why they sit around the ditch. They all belong to the ditch, but they discuss how this ditch is going to have the fire in it, and the fire will continue to burn. So they have to, each of them have to add his own fuel, his own theory, his own philosophical views, interpretations, whatever theory. I would like to mention this. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? To watch the last one, Ism alayha qu'ud, the last one in the screen, the last verse says, of course, not the last verse of the chapter, but last verse on the screen. 7, verse number 7, وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ. To watch what they were doing to the believers. Now, as we discussed earlier, we shouldn't forget, when the Quran physics in terms of, when the Quran speaks in terms of physical existence of something, people, the people of who people of, I don't know, as it is talked, as it is mentioned here, Ukhtut, Ashab al-Ukhtut, Qawm Lut, I don't know, Qawm Firaun, whatever. It doesn't really matter, the names. But Quran also speaks when it speaks mu'min. Mu'min means the one who believes. As if he's speaking a man. Which one? No. Mu'min as the unbeliever, denier, represents the idea of denying God. The term mu'min in the Quran represents the idea of believing in God. So they watch, in order to watch what they are doing to the believers means in order to watch what they are doing to the idea of belief in God. How are we going to overcome this, shut this one up, so that I wouldn't be able to see an alternative to our interpretations of our existence, an alternative to their own theories, which is based on interpreting the universe in physical terms. Why? Because the alternative also is an invitation to human mind, human feelings, because human free will has two options. One is produced by one side of human beings, if you like, which represents non-reality, non-existence, to be used in order to make the comparison between right and wrong, so that wrong will disappear as the right idea comes to mind as an option to human being. So wrong is to be rejected after acknowledging that it is wrong. It has no base. It is impossible to be confirmed. So the opposite of wrong is to be acknowledged as the truth, so that human beings can support it and own it and reject the wrong one. That is the very essential teaching of the Quran, revelation. Revelation always presents. So Torah is the very ancient available text in our hand, but somehow original, according to Quranic definition of it, original is somehow messed up by human interpretations, and somehow, but original message is preserved in it. And Zabur, which is known now as Psalms of David, or the Songs of David, Songs of Solomon, which is included in Torah, the series of books as well, also presents God as the one, not the gods of this world. It means anything accepted as the source of existence from this universe, but the one who is the creator of the whole universe. That is the comparison we need to make. That is how our nature is. We are created in this way. We can only acknowledge the truth through its opposite. The opposite helps us to acknowledge, appreciate what the truth is. So this works, actually, helps each other. After acknowledging the truth, you can easily recognize the opposite ideas are wrong. Very simple. It becomes very simple. So that is how we are. If someone insists that we are the product of nature, they don't want, in fact, they hate to see that. No, you cannot explain my existence in terms of this universe because I have so many kinds of feelings that makes me sense, that makes me a human being, and I am experiencing them. They cannot belong to this universe. I cannot really say that these feelings, human feelings, cannot be the product of any matter at all. Even my body and the qualities of my body cannot be really prepared by the matter accidentally developing by itself. They say, how can I reject it? You know, it is just the time now to mention the famous saying in English, truth hurts. So what they do, they are bound to produce anything in order to burn this idea, kill this idea of believing God, the creator. What can they do? So they are so eager to kill it, to cover it up, to get rid of it. But is it possible? Within human being, it is not possible because human free will has two options always. As far as one is a human being, he has to see two sides, whether believer or not, both of them. The believer feels very comfortable if he is conscious that denying of God by any theory, by any ideology, comfortably this person says, it is wrong. I cannot endorse it at all, comfortably. And he doesn't really get angry, irritated. Well, it is wrong. None of my business. Leave it. This is not for me. Thank you. Go ahead. Go away from me. It is easy. But the one who insists on the wrong, contradicting the idea, which contradicts completely to human side, they cannot deny it, but at the same time, they are burning within it. How can I really shut these ideas, shut this alternative completely off so that how can I burn it and get rid of it? While they are trying to burn the right idea, belief in God, they burn themselves. And they are trying to get rid of it. That is why they feel that they have their hatred, their grudge digs their own pit. They have to suffer in it. So they get together and support each other. How can we really get rid of this idea from our minds? How can we cover up the truth so that we will feel comfortable with no option? A believer is happy that there is an option of wrong so that they will recognize the truth. But unbeliever cannot be happy. There is an option of truth so that they will understand their stand is wrong. Their ideas are wrong. They hate to see the truth. So let me make there is something or there are two in chat box. I would love to see. Taya said, oh, what did I do? I changed the, yeah, okay. Let me go back and see chat box. Oh, happy to see that. Taya says, where do polytheists and other religions fall within this interpretation? We don't mention name, Taya. Other religions, what do you mean by other religions? It means according to their own tradition, every philosophy is the religion of their followers. So what it needs definition or limitations. What do we mean by religion? Of course, if it is a religion based, it is source as the revelation from God, then we don't compete with them. There may be some sort of deviations here and there, but on the outskirts of it. So we don't really discuss about the secondary matters at all. We say, okay, whoever believes in one God is our brother, sister. So polytheists, if you mean by polytheists, of course, mushrik is a different name. Mushrik is not polytheist. So mushrik, in essence, it is, but polytheist, I would say, are you talking about pagans who never acknowledge the revelation and pagan, who are not really following religion at all, but they are not producing philosophy either. They are just following their own traditional way of life inherited from their ancestors, pagans. So, of course, nowadays the pagan ideology is reviving as a new way of interpreting the word, but it means interpreting the word within its own material terms. Okay, they believe in God or gods. Now, when they say there is if someone says, I don't know who they are, of course you don't, you are not mentioning who they are. I know that. When they say there is a creator, okay, this idea is right. But I have to take care of my life here. The universe turns around itself. It means continues its existence by itself. So I agree when they say, I believe in God. Okay, I agree with this idea, but the universe is continuing by itself in its existence. I don't agree. Why? The universe is not conscious being. So actually, that's why Taya and all our brothers and sisters in the group now, we don't mention about these particular ideologies, names, because they are mixed. We speak in terms of completely abstract notions. Abstract notions means theories. It means believe in God as the creator of the universe, as the creator of everything around you, every single atom also. That is believe in God. But if one says God created the universe, oh, I agree. But the mountains developed or the results of the geological actions, or something happened in the bottom of the earth, in the center of the earth, etc., happened by itself? No, I don't agree. I speak about what the sentence itself says. One sentence may be correct, in other senses may be wrong, according to my understanding. So I say, I agree with this sentence, I don't agree with this interpretation. That is why we should never talk about any ideology, any title. Okay, I understand that is very important. Believing in gods, in plural, God is by definition must be eternal one. And then if someone talks about gods, it means this person is talking about something which is not absolute. If something is not absolute, it cannot be God. So according to him, he may say gods, I don't care. So if something is not absolute, cannot be God according to my understanding. So eh, the word gods in plural does not make sense to me, contradicts itself. Absolutes, something like that. There cannot be many absolute. Absolute is absolute and one, that's it. And you cannot say even one. Absolute is absolute, that's it. So they cannot make plural of absolutes. It doesn't make any sense in English either. So they believe in creator or creators or, no, or definition, Taya. What do you mean by creator? Absolute being or not? Absolute being, one creator. Creators means, they say the universe, every particle creates its own sense. It means doesn't bring into existence from non-existence. What? And then makes an effect on another thing. Is can it make? I can argue there. Can one thing cause to come into existence a new type of existence, new quality, bring a new quality into existence? As the tree grows, of course, every day tree gets a new quality, bigger size of cells, or uh, divided cells. Do they produce themselves? I say no. If someone says yes, you believe as the matter to be the creator, I say matter cannot be the creator. Matter cannot bring anything into existence. And human beings are free. Which idea makes sense to them? They are free to choose and decide and follow. So are they free of this ditch and doom? Oh, definition, again, definition, Taya. None of my business who is in there, who is not there. None of my business is an answer I'm saying, Taya. So none of my business who is there, who is not there. Unbelief is in ditch, in this example, or the parable, if you like, of the Quran. Belief is not. So unbelievers are trying, unbelief is trying to kill the idea of belief in God. Is this verse not referring to them? No, we are not talking about them. Taya, I think I appreciate your sincere comment and question. But through these communications that we learn what our concern should be, what things shouldn't be our concern. That's what we have to discuss here. Why should I bother who's in ditch or not? Unbelief, any ideology at any degree, which cannot attribute the existence of any single thing, big or small, to anything other than the absolute being, falls into the ditch. But, for example, today I believe in God. Everything is created by God. Tomorrow I say, the tree grows by itself. Oh, okay. I believe in God is right idea. Tree grows by itself is wrong idea. I am in ditch. I am in ditch in this idea. If tree grows itself, by itself, it doesn't have an owner, then my feelings will say, I am growing by myself, I am dying by myself, no one is going to save me. What am I doing? In this idea, I am putting myself in the ditch. In this interpretation, I am putting myself in the ditch. But while I am claiming in another time, or together with this idea, universe is created by God. Okay, when I say the universe is created by God, I am out of ditch. When I say tree grows by itself, I am in ditch. So human beings are not completely white or completely black. We are gray creatures. That's how we are made. So what we are trying to do here, to make the gray side of us, or gray attitude of us, more and more lighter, much, every stage, lighter and lighter and lighter. Clean the black side of it in the clay, in the gray slate of our heart, our mind. We are trying to clean it as much as possible. Every class we have here is a try to wipe out the black side of our gray, if you like, tablet heart. Now, we have to accept that. How did this shift from what they were doing to the believers to what they were doing in the belief in God? How did we see? Oh, of course, Afshan. Thank you very much. I appreciate anybody who says, even somebody writes, Ali, you are talking nonsense. I appreciate it. I will say, am I? Yeah, I have to check myself. Yeah, I appreciate and congratulate this person if he says it really seriously. So does it not like in for another purpose? I don't know, revenging or something. I don't know. So how did we shift? I think, Afshan, what I understand, this kind of questions emerges very often from you. Why? It may be one reason I'm drawing your attention to your own self, which is very, very common in the Muslim community, in the Jewish community, in the Christian community, very common, in every community, in fact, but especially in the Muslim community, it shouldn't be, but it's very common. Reading the Quran literally. When we read the Quran literally, we say, oh, that is Ashabul Ukhdud, people talking about a certain kind of people. We say, certain kind of people in our discussion in this class, certain kind of people is not the aim or cannot be the aim of God to teach me, as if I am going to curse these people and clean myself. It means it will wash my hands out of it and go and say, I'm clean, they are dirty. Yeah. No, Quran, God doesn't speak in order to gossip about people. Quran is the word of God by definition. God doesn't disdain to gossip about people. It is impossible. So we cannot read the Quran literally. When the Quran says mu'minun, the believers, it means description of the belief as affecting on human nature. When the Quran says kafirun, description of kufr, idea of denial as affecting human nature, human character, human feelings, human heart, human mind. So why should I talk about the people? That's why we said at the beginning, I'm sure you were here, not I'm sure, no, I expected, I don't check the participants list. So whoever comes, welcome. Who doesn't come, it is up to him or her. So I don't really bother about that. So what I bother about, whether we are speaking the truth or not, trying to find out the truth or not. So literal meaning cannot be applied to any revelation. You can apply literal meaning to a mathematics book, the physics book, or in your area, the medical book. You have to read any medical books literally. You cannot interpret them. But when it comes to revelation, when it comes to philosophy, when it comes to literature, literary works, when it comes to poem, you cannot read it literally. You have to try to see what is beyond the physical description? What do they refer? If you, I'm sure you have read many classical Russian, especially Russian classics and European classics, and also Eastern culture classics. There are many classical novels in the Muslim world produced in history and in Western world produced by the philosophers. They are speaking about certain people's attitude, but in fact, in the classical books, all the people are the main players, whatever you call it, playing the main roles in the classical books. They are the representative of certain ideas and certain attitudes. So they are philosophy books. They are not novels. So exactly the same thing for the Quran. Quran doesn't speak about the physics of the universe, mathematics of the universe, but the Quran speaks about the interpretation of existence of the universe, interpretation of human reality, interpretation of human mind and feelings, so that we have to understand it in terms of physical role models representing certain attitudes that the human beings take, and that accordingly we can visualize them. We can visualize them. Oh, this is the technical word used, phenomenological language the Quran uses. Not only Quran, Torah, Bible, phenomenological language. All the literal classical literatures, philosophies, they are always, mostly always speak by representing the idea with a man doing something. Lots of, for example, bad guys, good guys in the how are they called? Because I'm not fond of them. Movies. So in the movies, the people represent certain ideas. If the movie is a serious movie, not the stupid thrillers. So if it's a serious movie, everybody in the movie represents, if the really producer is a right man, or the script writers is a really thinking man, every figure represents one side of human being, one feeling of human being. This is a best way of describe it, although every prophetic narrations in the Quran is in the same way, but the best way describe it, this human analysis, is chapter Joseph, Surah, there's Yusuf, Surah Yusuf. Everything is symbolic. Everything. Yusuf represents one side of human being. Jacob represents another side of human being. Joseph's brothers represent another side of human being. The wife of the Aziz represents another. There is no Zuleha in the Quran, so I don't mention it. So, it is taken from Torah tradition. We don't know whether that's true or not. Doesn't matter the name. So wife of, and the women of the town represent certain ideas that the human beings generally share. King represents, prison represents, the well that the Joseph was thrown in represents, and the shirt, gown of Yusuf represents one's The gone of Yusuf is used as a false evidence. On another occasion, it is the shirt that proved that the Yusuf was innocent. It represents the really an evidence which proves the reality. And the third evidence, the shirt, the same shirt, is used as a means of curing the problems of human sadness. The same thing may be used in many different ways. It is a beautiful, excellent description of analysis of human feelings. Every figure, those people who came to Joseph to ask for the interpretation of their dream, also who want the benefit from the prophetic tradition in order to just satisfy their own curiosities, but never take it further. It is one side of human being. So I hope if I am alive, I would really love to study or go over the Yusuf's story in the Quran. So how one person has all these aspects within his own human side functioning together, but human feelings, human free will has to make decision in this matter, which side he would take as the right, which side he would take as the wrong. Reject it, the wrong side, confirm it, endorse the right side, and then find the Sirata Mustaqim, straight path, which takes you to God, and acknowledge him and submit your will to his will. Perfect. So it is an human psychology analysis. But some people read it as a history happened, something. So we can take some sort of lesson that we shouldn't be like Yusuf's brothers. At the end, we will be humiliated by prostrating before him or his father, whatever. It depends on the interpretations. Okay. Please, I appreciate your frank search, investigation. My friend, or our friend, Afshan. So pay attention to it. Looking forward to reading Yusuf, inshallah. So I have to reflect and process it. Please be careful. You can imagine even a philosopher, even a, how do you say, writer, literalist, do not mention a man's attitude for the sake of man. A film, a script writer, a movie producer, do not put a man there saying that this man was a bad guy. No, it is an actor. Come on. Come on, wake up. It is an actor. He plays this role, and then after the role is, how do you say, the movie is shot, how do you say, the shooting has gone, the man comes back in his own reality. Nothing to do with what he did during the shootings. Everybody understands that. That's so simple. So why should we read the speech of God in terms of personal matter? Human beings. God speaks about human beings. He created him. What is it to do with him? So if he doesn't like it, he wouldn't create it. Come on. Now, anyway, to me, it's so obvious, but I am not being sarcastic. I'm trying to convince the minds of the people that They are indoctrinated in reading the Quran literally. I think this is the most unjust treatment of the Quran. Reading it worse than, in a way which is worse than reading a novel or watching a movie for the sake of the man. It is a player, man. Okay, I think it is done. Thank you very much. There's something written there. Looking forward to hearing. Okay, I thank you. I have to reflect. Taya says, thank you for the explanation. Okay. Alhamdulillah. That's why we have to clarify, clear our minds, get rid of this traditional dust or rust, inshallah. So it is not for you. It is the common people, I understand, but for you are intelligent people, I respect all of you. So, alhamdulillah. Let's go back. And before time is almost up, so to watch what they were doing to the believers, so what they did now, they sat around the ditch. Look, all the philosophers produced new theories. They call it nowadays scientists, but scientist means a person who studies the universe and tries to understand how it works. But we don't talk about the person. We don't talk about studying the universe, how the order of the universe works. That is, everybody has to investigate, has to understand how the universe works. But for what? Of course, to produce something for human beings as a side production, but the main aim is to understand how the things act in this way. So we have to make sense of this action, interpret the action, what we are seeing in the universe, so that we will come up with a conclusion about the factor, about the actor behind these actions which are taken within the order of the universe. Behind these actions. So, interpretation of the findings of how the universe is working, we are talking about this as philosophy. Nowadays, because philosophy failed, human beings don't say, I believe in philosophy. They say, I believe in science. We have to wake up. But in fact, they don't believe in science. They believe in the interpretations of the actions which are taking place within the order. So they believe in some philosophy, and the philosophical views which are described or presented by those people who work in the lab. But their philosophy is side production of their profession. They are professionals in finding out how the universe is working, but they are not professionals in interpreting these events. So what they do, they come up with a very clumsy idea saying that it happened by itself. Well, when that a serious philosopher cannot take it seriously. What do you mean by accident? What do you mean by happening haphazardly? So what do you mean? What do you describe accident? What is accident for you? How do you explain the existence of accident? Oh, that is a philosophical question. Of course, the scientists never go into it because that's not their profession. So they are very shallow in their understanding. But the people, shallow-minded people, majority of the people are shallow-minded people. They take it and they say, I believe in science. It is impossible to believe in science. You believe in interpretations of the simple-minded scientific people. are not simple-minded in terms of their scientific research. They are brilliant, smart there, but making the philosophy of their scientific findings, they are really simple-minded. So I don't really take them seriously. But the people are not aware of the difference between scientific studies, researches, and interpretation of the scientific findings by those people who are doing scientific studies. If I could make it clear for you, we have to be aware of the difference between a person find out, for example, how the atom is divided or separated in different divisions by, I don't know, they call it Liptons, something, they have their names there, none of our business, that the subparticles of subparticles of subparticles. They are brilliant people in working on it. I appreciate them, but if they come up when saying that this is happening by itself, it's a natural event. What do you mean by nature? What do you mean by accident? Do you see the difference? There is no definition. How do you explain the existence of these actions going on within the atom? How do you explain it? The existence of these particles making an atom, they can make together? Can they? Do they have the ability to come together and act, coordination and make the atom together, and atoms work together and make the molecules, and molecules come together and make the cells by themselves? So these are the fundamental questions which are to be dealt by the professional philosopher thinking. What about the theory they come? We look at the serious, the person who thinks seriously, we take it seriously and read them and benefit from them. I never read the philosophical views of the scientists. They are not professionals there. I don't really care what they say, but the people buy it, yeah, because people are shallow people. They are the, if you like, students of video games. So they cannot read 500 or 1,000 pages of a philosophical book seriously, sit and read it. So their mind is so simple-minded. So I can't really take them seriously. But that's my personal idea. So what they do now, set around it, it means they are united, those people, it means those ideas, materialist idea, all the materialist ideology are united around one idea, one point, which explain everything within the universe. Now, they are sitting around it now. So how are we going to present it to ourselves, convince ourselves that this idea is right? All the thousands of different ideologies are produced, theories are produced out of this. So they are all got around to kill the idea of God, the creator, the source of existence. How do we really burn this idea and get rid of it? While they are trying to burn the truth, they burn themselves. Truth cannot be burned. It is within human nature. Human conscience knows the truth. They cannot, but they try. Of course they should try, because there are two options in the descriptions of the Quran. Satan represents anything wrong. Any idea which is wrong is represented in the Quran with the name Satan. So Satan comes and presents to this idea. To whom? Everybody. Not to you and not to certain people only, not to me only, including me. It represents this idea. I say, okay, does it make sense? No, reject it. And If it is wrong, what is right then? Yeah, if it is wrong, what is right then? According to what? It is wrong. So I have to search for the truth as well. So the wrong ideas are out there giving the option to be wrong, so they don't have any base to support. So it is easy to reject it, but it is an impulse, incitement for us. It really motivates us to search for the truth. That is beautiful. That's what the Quran always bases its argument on this matter. La ilaha illallah. There is no God. There is no creator within the universe. Nothing in the universe can create. It means has the quality of deity. So I would say, there is no creator in the universe. Oh, okay. How can I explain the existence of the universe itself, the parts in it? I have to think about the source of existence of the universe and come to a conclusion. You see how this idea is useful for me to look for the truth. But some people buy it and defend it. That is, excuse me, that is described here in the name of Ashabul Ukhdud, whoever they are. So the role is played by a person. It is how the Revelation teaches human beings. Revelation doesn't gossip about certain people happen to be in the history who no one knows, we don't know, and really curse on them, and nothing to do with me. So why should I read this story if it is nothing to do with me? Okay, I have to associate it to my own reality. So here we go. They are there. Let them sit there for this week. So watch what they are doing to extinguish, to really kill the idea of belief. Okay, let them work on it until next week. We will continue what is happening now. Here we go. Yeah, we will study this inshallah. وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد. Description of the reason why they are doing this. And we will continue inshallah next week. If God wills, of course, if something happens created by God, we say, okay, we submit ourselves and our existence to God and accept it, because whatever is created by God is created for a reason, because we see that the creator of the universe is creating everything with a reason, with a purpose. But I hope, inshallah, from God's mercy, that we will get together again next week, Monday. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's what I